Welcome to Ethical Hacking from Scratch to Advanced Technique. On this video, we are going to explain the last phases or the last stage in collecting information. And we are going to explain one specific technique, which is enumeration. So before showing you the demonstration, we need to explain what is exactly enumeration. Enumeration is to collect information, but actually more critical information. I mean, it will be very useful for you as a ethical hacker to be able to get some of the accounts from this machine, or some of the shared name, or some of the service running on a specific machine, or some of the group. So this is very easy to do. Actually, it used to be very easy. Now they find a patch for that, but we are still using that by using a specific weakness called the null session. Now let me explain first for you what is a null session, and then explain the enumeration, and then show you the demonstration. It all starts in Microsoft Windows Server 2000 and Windows Server 2000 and earlier version, where we used to have more than one domain. The thing was that we need to eliminate the single point of failure. When I have a very critical network in my organization that depend on the domain controller that has all the accounts and their password and the group policy and everything, it becomes very critical to the business. So if this server crashed, all the network will be down. We called this feature, or actually this thing, a single point of failure. So to eliminate the single point of failure, we used to have two different computers acting as a domain controller. One of them will be the primary domain controller, and the second one will be the backup domain controller or the secondary domain controller. And they are connecting together through something called a null session. Null session is a session that is created between two different machines that do not request username and password. And those two machines connected together, they are synchronizing from each other. So if you create an account on one machine, it will be automatically showing on the other machine, and vice versa. And what is the use of that? The use of that, if one of the server went down for any problem, power failure, or any issue happened to this machine, the network will not be crashed because automatically it will switch to the other server. Now the problem with the null session is that it didn't request any authentication. It didn't request any username and password. Now how hacker did manipulate that Windows Server 2000 and earlier, and even 2003 and Windows XP are accepting the null session. So what happened is, I can, as a hacker from any machine using the right tools, I can connect to any server telling him, listen, I am your backup domain, or I am your secondary domain. And since the primary server don't have a way for validating that, and he's accepting the null session, which is a session without username and password, so he will allow the connection to this machine. And not just that, but he will also will share with you all the information that he's holding. He will synchronize, because he's thinking that you are that this computer is his backup. And accordingly, if this machine crashed, automatically the other machine, he's thinking that, will be replacing it. And by doing that, this kind of manipulation, you'll be able to get all the information from this machine. So what we are doing exactly, we are connecting with one of the server or the client using a null session. And if the null session is allowed, what will happen is it will accept the connection. It will send you a copy from all the information that he's holding. So this is considered very, very useful information. So it all depends about the null session. Everything on this attack depends that the null session is allowed on the machine. And by default, the null session, it's allowed on all Windows Server 2000 and 2003 and Windows XP. And you need to disable that manually, because by default it's allowed. Okay. Now, let's start the demonstration with the video, and let's see how easy it is to connect to a server and grab all those information. Now, I'm going to use two different machines in my lab. So I have the server machine, and this is a server that we're going to use to connect. So let's connect here. And notice that this is a domain controller, which is more critical server. This is not just a server, it's a domain controller. So let me log in here and let's see. Okay. And the other virtual machine that I'm going to use, it's a hacker machine, okay, where I'll be going and logging to this machine. And while it's logging, it opens the domain controller. We're going to use a program that it's a very, very powerful program. And we're going to use this specific program in many attacks, and you have to download it because it's a very, very useful program. It's called Kane Enable. This is the program, and you can download this specific program from this website, oxide.it. So just log into this website and you'll be able to download this program. I'll share with you the link of all those websites from where you can download those tools. So this is a very handy and powerful tool for penetration tester. It has a lot of features. It's used for sniffing, for man-in-the-middle attack, for cracking, for enumeration, and much more. So it's a very, very powerful tool that we're going to use all the time. So this is the tools, and it's quite easy to use. It has different tabs. Like here we have the network tab, and here we have the sniffing tab. And whenever you go to a specific tab, you're going to find down here all the related sub-tab down. And we have the cracker tab and the trace route and others tab. So in our case, we're going to work on the network tab. Now let's go to the server machine. And what we need exactly from this machine, we just need to know the IP from the server. So let's check the IP. Let's go to support. It's 192.168.95.141, 143. Okay, great. So we are going to this one. And we have a toolbar up here. That the function of this toolbar depends about on which tab you are on. I mean, if you are sniffing and you click on plus, that means you need to add machine to sniffer. If you are on the network and you click on plus sign, that means you need to connect to a network. If you are on the cracker, that means you need to add something to be cracked. So the option itself, it depends about on which tab you are. So I'm going to click on quick access, and I'm going to click on plus, that I need to connect to a specific computer. And they're going to ask me for the IP for this computer, which is 192.168.95.143. Okay, and we are going to click on OK, and it should show here the IP that I just choose, and I can right click on it and I click on connect as. Now when I'm asking him that I need to connect to this specific computer, he said okay, to be able to connect to any computer you need the username and password for a valid account on this computer. But if I click on OK, that means I need to connect without a username and password. What kind of connection is used without a username and password? It's a null session. So you are telling the server that I need to do a null session with you. I need to connect using a null session. And if the feature is allowed on the server, he will accept that. So if I click on OK, it will be accepted. That means that the feature is allowed on the server. Now when I expand here, I will find a lot of options that I can get from that, because now the server is considered that there is a backup server for him, and he is willing to share whatever he have. So if he crash, you can replace him. This is what the server thinks. So I'm going to say, for instance, okay, I need to get all the users that you have. So he can tell me, would you like to start the enumeration? I said yes. you're gonna find from time to time this error, but it's gonna work. And I click on OK, and I click on OK, and here you go. You will be getting all the account from all the domain account, which is extremely dangerous, because if you are able to compromise one of those accounts, you'll be able to connect from any place in the domain. So those are not the local account, those are the domain account. Okay, so I can do the same for the service running, I can do the same for the group, the share, whatever, but actually my main concern will be the users. Now, which one do you think is the most important account? Definitely administrator, right? I mean, if I'm able to compromise the administrator, I'll be able to have full access on my network, and I can change whatever it will be like a full access on my domain. But in 99% of the cases in real life, no one is keeping the administrator account under the same name. AB security in network administration is that if you have a domain controller, the first thing to do to change this name of this account, because everyone knows that any server has an account by the name of administrator. So he just needs to work on the password. But if I don't know the name of the account or the password, I'm doubling the effort. Now, what if the administrator account is changed? How can I distinguish which one is the most important account? You can do that from the SID. SID is the account identifier, and this is also a very useful hint that I can distinguish which one is the administrator account from the ID number, because all admin accounts end up with 500. So even if the administrator changed the account name, I can tell you which one is the admin account, because it's usually end up with 500. So this is how easy it is to do enumeration. And actually this exists in all server till 2003, and till now a lot of organizations still using 2003. They didn't upgrade to 2008 or 12 because sometimes, you know, things are stable. For network administrator, usually they consider stability more than security. So sometimes inside your organization, since everything is stable, I will never think to upgrade to a newer version. And sometimes you may have an application that must be running on 2003. So in real life, you're going to find that still some people are using Windows Server 2003, which is very, very vulnerable. And you can see a lot of attack related to that. And this is one of the attacks that we can establish in 2003 server. And we are able to get all accounts and shared and service using the same method. There is a lot of different tools, but I showed you the easier one. You know, you can do that by command line, but it's quite complicated. So this is a very easy way to do enumeration. Okay. So how to prevent that? Because this cannot just be done on server, but also it can be done on client. So how to prevent that? It only can be prevented by changing inside the registry. So you need to go to a specific key inside the registry and change some value to 0. This is very dangerous because if you messed up the registry, this will end up crashing your system. So you have to be careful on that. And how to open this registry? So we can go and we can type regedit and the registry. Registry, by the way, to whom the people who don't know what is a Windows registry, it's a database of all hardware and software of the machine. It's here. And those are the key. And you can search for specific keys. There is some key related to the machine, some key related to user, some key. It's not something that I would recommend to go and like work around and try things here and there, because as I told you, it's very, very critical. So if you need to know more details about how to work on registry and how to change to disable this feature by default, you can log on to or you can check this URL. It will show you the full details about how the null session vulnerability work and how to prevent them. So this was a small video about how to do the enumeration, which is one of the collecting information's technique, but it's kind of more critical information. Yeah. So that will be it for this video. and on next video we're gonna start the attack. Thank you.